Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for July 11th, 2011. I'd ask everyone in attendance to rise and join us in singing O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to Mr. David Bray for the audio of our anthem and to the National Film Board of Canada for the video. So we'll move into the council agenda and we'll start with the adoption of the previous council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to receive that set of minutes? Councillor Rice?
I move adoption of the minutes of the City Council meeting held June 27th, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Did anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. We'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. And Councillor Radburn?
Thank you.
You're on.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I would move the council adopt the agenda as presented with the addition of 9.6 Curling Club Ice Plant Tender Award.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. So that brings us to the delegation portion of the council agenda, and this is an opportunity for anyone to come forward and address council on any issue not relating to a public hearing. We did have a couple of folks that said that they wish to address council, and I believe there was a Mr. Lapointe that wanted to come and speak. Please come forward and join us at the table in the center here. And if you can, when you take your seat, please identify yourself for the city clerk, and you have about 5 minutes, and then we'll have a round of questions.
That'll be fine. My name is Dennis Lapointe. I dropped off some DVDs for the council members and the mayor. I'm an electrician by trade, and I'm also a B-pressure welder, and I've worked in a lot of different trades. So I'm not an expert in this. These people are. When you have a Nobel laureate, it means they won a Nobel Prize in chemistry. I'd like to point out a couple of things, and then trying to be brief here. The city of Raymond had, through, I believe you call it a plebiscite, like they had a vote, and then that was sort of overruled the council, and you had to do that. They had voted for it, and also the city of Calgary now. And in both cases, the city councils overruled the plebiscite. I don't know legally how they can do it, but they did it. It's a precedent. So I wish you could give some, I hope you can give some thought to this matter and enjoy your DVD.
Thanks very much, Mr. Lapointe. You may want to stay seated. I don't know if members of council have any questions for the delegation. Councillor Rice.
You've been in touch with Aquaterra Utilities.
I'm not familiar with your city hall here, so I brought some of these down.
That we got them. I just wondered, Aquaterra is a separate organization. Yeah.
I gave them.
You gave them to Aquaterra as well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Wong?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. Mr. Lapointe, have you had a chance to contact the federal government at any level regarding the fluoridation of water?
Oh, they've been contacted many times, I can assure you, by different organizations.
Okay. Yeah. In particular, I was thinking of Health Canada, because they're the ones who
Yeah.
create the legislation. And even provincially, Alberta Environment is the one that legislates that municipalities have to put fluorine in their water. And I guess Calgary has voted against putting that in. I'm not sure how they've gone or how they've been able to do this legally, but you know, those were the two bodies that I was thinking of.
The situation in Calgary is they were faced with building this huge water treatment plant. And the cost of adding this particular chemical to the water, it's not cheap. Has to be held in special vessels and everything. So that's how that came about. They just figured they couldn't afford it
Okay.
for the benefits shown.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. I see one more for you, Mr. Lapointe. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Dennis, the question I have is fluoride. So Calgary had a plebiscite and they did not follow through on that, is what you're saying?
No, they did. They added it to the water supply. But then recently, there's this huge expansion. I was down there last month and I couldn't recognize the place. North of the city, they needed, they got a racetrack in there and all kinds of things. So the mayor, they have a new mayor there, and council looked at the cost of adding this. They got to build a whole new water system, and they just said, well, we can't afford it. That was one of the reasons used.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much. I don't see any further questions. Thanks very much for your
Thank you,
presentation
Mayor.
today. Thank you. Okay, was there anybody else here who wished to speak to council on any issue? I see Mr. Driver there. If you want to come forward, come on up, Murray, and same thing, please introduce yourself to the city clerk, and for those watching, the millions watching at home. Yes.
My name is Murray Driver of Driver Advertising Systems here in Grand Prairie. I'd like to speak about the portable sign issue that's before the council tonight. I did take the opportunity to write a letter and send a picture, and Councillor Monroe was kind enough to distribute a map that I had kind of drawn up myself. My artistic skills somewhat lacking, but hopefully it's clear enough. I just wanted to do two things. One is to make myself available if there were any questions about that map and what I'm trying to, the information I'm trying to impart with that. And two, to just add a couple more thoughts to the process. And I know there are plenty of different ideas out there about how this should be handled. The biggest issue that I see is that the nonprofit groups in Grand Prairie will have a reduced amount of opportunity to use city land to advertise their events on via portable signs. If the changes are made on the bypass, we're going to see a drop from about 15 portable signs on the bypass to about 5. The map I've given you has got sections A, B, C, and D kind of on it there, and that Section B area would be available for signs, but the terrain itself is sloped and et cetera, where it's just not appropriate to put signs there, so it doesn't help us in any way to provide more numbers. So the only sections right now are A and C on your maps. If we are using the spacing that has been recommended, that will allow us to have a total of 5 signs on the bypass, 2 in Section A and 3 in Section C, as I went out on the weekend and stepped that off. Now, typically we have 15 signs out there during peak seasons of the year, the spring and summer, when a lot of these groups are requiring space. So it's a significant reduction in availability. Now, I guess with that, as I spoke to the CDC before about it, I've since thought that one of the problems we could have is that there's going to be perhaps a possibility of cornering the market, if you will, on those signs that are available, because some of the groups have got more funds available than others do. For example, the QE2 Foundation would have more funds available than Big Brothers and Sisters in all probability. So perhaps if there were only 5 signs on the bypass, and I'm not picking on the QE2 Foundation, but perhaps they could book those for the year, and someone who just needed, 1 month or 2 months wouldn't ever have a chance to get a sign on the bypass. The bypass being the most coveted city boulevards. When I get phone calls from people to advertise in the nonprofit sector, that's the first place they ask to be placed. So there's a couple of possibilities that may help out. One is, it was discussed in the CDC meeting as well. There's a residential section from 104th Street east to about 101st Street that is a residential area. If some consideration could be given to that area to be used for portable signs, we could put another 3 or possibly 4 in there using the 90-meter separation that has been proposed. That would give us a total of 8 or possibly 9, a number that's certainly reduced but not significantly reduced from where we're at today. And I won't make any friends in the sign industry with this comment, but in another option to be as fair as possible to all parties concerned might be just to say there are no signs allowed on city property. It takes away the clutter issue. It brings fairness to the table because it doesn't allow anyone to be able to afford more or do more with funding that they may have that other groups don't. And I guess I have found out since the CDC meeting that there has been a lot more. I know that these groups really want these signs, but I understand there's been a lot more people voicing their opinion about how they don't care for the signs, would prefer not to have them. And so I just got back from a trip to Fort St. John last week. Fort St. John's a very nice city. There's great people there. That they have a tremendous amount of billboards and portable signs, and it really, really looks cluttered, and Grand Prairie doesn't look anything near that. And I think we need to continue to take steps to prevent us from looking like Fort St. John does right now, or Edmonton or other cities that don't seem to have control of their signs.
Thanks very much for your presentation, Mr. Driver. So any questions from council for Mr. Driver? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Mayor, the question I have you talked to a few other individuals that own different signs in town, like Duncan, Magnet Signs, or a few others?
Yeah, we've all talked, and we've all met with the Parks Department, with Josie Burrow and we've had actually lengthy discussions. Both Lindsay and Josie have been very open about what we might try to do and how we might try to make it fair and so on. And Duncan and Reed from Postcard Portables and Herman from Sleek and so on, we're all there. Everyone was invited to attend and have their input, and the input was certainly openly received from that department. So we've had lots of discussions, but there are just some differences of opinion, smaller differences of opinion, I would say, between the groups still.
Okay.
Any further questions for Mr. Driver? Sure. Councillor Rice?
In your letter, you also commented on the $250 fee.
Yes.
Which could be punitive to not-for-profit groups.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficulty in that many of the signs that we rent out to the not-for-profit groups, we don't rent out. In fact, some of them we provide at no charge as a part of our giving to those groups. And many of them have very small budgets. And so where they've had to pay nothing in the past, the city has funded that through the Parks Department. They now go from that zero funding to the $250 funding, which is a significant jump from what they're used to. Somebody has to pay the freight, and I know it's a real cost to do the work that is done out there. And as I said in my letter, if the city sees its way to support those groups with that process, I know that generosity would be welcomed.
Councillor Rice?
So if we go back to the map, you said there are usually about 15 signs in that area.
Correct, and those signs run all the way from Section A through Section D.
Okay, so 15 in A to D.
Yes.
So now if we're having 5 in just A and C only, I'm just trying to get a sense of how many would normally have been an A.
2 probably.
So that
Yeah,
doesn't change.
That doesn't change, no.
B,
B's never had signs in it.
C?
C could be anywhere from, I would say probably about 5 or 6 probably in C.
Okay, so if that's cut down to 3,
Yes,
then, like, part of the fee was because of the extremely high cost of mowing around the signs.
correct.
So if that's cut down to 3, would it be your guesstimate that that should considerably diminish the cost of mowing?
I would assume so, but I can't really respond to that
Okay.
accurately.
And D didn't have any signs either?
D has had signs all along,
Okay.
but as we talked in the CDC meeting, those signs shouldn't be there, because they were there, and it was kind of like no harm, no foul for a period of time. But now, as the whole issue is being addressed, and apparently some residents have made their feelings known that they would prefer not to have those signs there, that some of the people who live in that area. But there, and I showed the picture because that was to show the buffer that does exist, the physical buffer that exists between the signs and the residences. But by the rules of the Romans, they're not supposed to be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any further questions? Councillor Radman.
Mayor Given, thank you. Actually, my questions are for administration. Can we ask administration questions now or when it comes up on the agenda?
This isn't a public hearing, and so I think probably around the agenda item would probably
Ken?
be most appropriate. Yeah. Thanks very much. Any further questions for Mr. Driver? Seeing none, thanks very much, Murray. Thanks for
Appreciate your
presentation.
time.
Thank you. And so this is the delegation portion, as I mentioned. One can come forward to address council on any community matter. Was there anybody else that wanted to come forward? Okay, and since I've just been informed that there's nobody that's here for any other general public business, it is public hearing business, then we'll close the delegation portion of our agenda, and we'll move on to public hearings, of which we have one, item 6.1, bylaw C-1100-174, and I'll call that public hearing to order and ask for an introduction from administration. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Given. This item is framed around a bylaw C-1100-174, which is a rezoning in the land use bylaw. But what's the real subject, I guess, of the matter is the rescinding of the Woodgrove Estates outline plan. So if I could bring up the air photo on the screen there, I'll just walk you through a very brief presentation. I've highlighted the subject property and pointed out some landmarks for your reference. Ivy Lake and Crystal Lake are highlighted there. And then the neighborhood that's immediately to the west of the subject area is Crystal Heights. So this is the area right here. The Woodgrove Estates outline plan was originally adopted by council in 2003. No development has happened in conjunction with that outline plan. It has remained undeveloped the entire time. The land was also rezoned at the time of adoption of the outline plan, consistent with the outline plan, so it maintains a mix of residential districts, which I'll get to in a minute. In 2006, however, discussions with the city's engineering department, Aquaterra, and the developer, everyone agreed to an unusual alignment for the 88th Street trunk, and I'm just going to highlight that here. So the 88th Street trunk dissects the outline plan in a fashion that is just not accommodated in this development concept. Typically, when you have a line like that, it follows either a network of PULs or major roadways or something to that effect, maybe on the boundary of a school site. So when that happened, everyone agreed that this development concept was no longer viable. It's not like the people weren't aware of it. They knew that things had to change, but we thought that the change would happen sooner than it has. So what the idea was okay, everyone agrees to this alignment of this trunk, and then right after the developer would come in with an amendment to the Woodgrove Estates outline plan. all things would change. It would, you know, the road network would change, some parks, PULs, et cetera. But the economy flatlined after that, and the developer didn't really have any interest in putting money into consultants and whatnot to amend the outline plan, so it just kind of sat there. In a separate, unrelated exercise, the planning department was in discussions with the school boards about school site needs in all areas of the city. And one of the things that was discovered was that neither of the school boards had a need or intentions of developing on the school site, which is this off-green color up in the upper right corner. So that school site is, it's not needed, and that just kind of threw another non-relevant piece into this outline plan, if you will. Now, outline plans are the final development plan that's that is out there prior to a developer going to subdivision and rezoning. So adjacent property owners, if they're doing their due diligence for buying an adjacent property or something, would look to the outline plan for guidance and as to what they can reasonably expect near their the place that they're looking at buying or what have you. And given these two factors, that the school site and the 88th Street trunk were really going to have profound impacts on this development concept, we just felt that it was absolutely appropriate to rescind this outline plan, take a step back in the development process. The area structure plan would still apply, but essentially all of the roads and cul-de-sacs and little pocket parks and all that sort of stuff would be, that's just kind of going to be wiped clean. So that's about the outline plan. This is the zoning for the area. It's predominantly low-density residential, some combined density, some multifamily, and a big public service site, which would be Storm Pond and the school site. Of course, this all will change with a new outline plan. Furthermore, if council is mindful of rescinding the outline plan, it's not appropriate to have land use districts on the property without a development concept. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's just a little bit more on the zoning there. We sent letters to all the adjacent property owners. We did receive some inquiries, but more requests to speak in layman's terms as opposed to the jargon-filled letter. And we also discussed with the developer over the last couple months about what we're doing and why we wanted to do it. And they have provided a letter which is attached to the report stating their position in this matter. And so ultimately our recommendation to council is that you give bylaw C 1100-174 second and third reading. And again, that's to rezone the lands from its mix of residential land use districts to UR urban reserve and to rescind the Woodgrove Estates outline plan.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Johnson. An opportunity for a very, very brief question for administration. Councillor Rice.
Okay, why was the trunk put in that odd configuration?
Mr. Johnson.
My understanding is that the developer was presented with a request from an adjacent developer to run the trunk through their property, and the developer did not want to develop as detailed in the existing Woodgrove Estates development concept. So they figured that this is an alignment that they'd be able to work with either a major road or a public utility lot. So they had some tentative development concepts. Okay. And it was explained to them that that was taking a bit of a risk by putting an alignment through your property prior to having a development concept that works with it. But all parties agreed, I guess, is the most important part.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Brief questions. There are others in the queue, and there will be a second opportunity for questions
Okay,
from
I'll
administration.
let others go ahead then.
Okay. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Joe,
Well, Councillor Radburn, you're just looking to your left when your microphone's to your right.
thank you. The The paragraph in the letter talks about the city continuing to be receptive to land use classifications, da-da-da-da. I'm assuming that that would be taken care of when they have to resubmit an outline plan approval.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it will. We will take our usual approach of working with developers to listen to their needs and what their reasons for so their development concept, and yeah, we'd work with them through the development concept or the outline plan approval process.
Thank you.
Councillor Crokin?
Thanks, Mayor Given. Joe, is there going to be any costs to the city other than your day-to-day operations of overlooking this plan?
Mr. Johnson?
There are no costs that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Rice?
Okay, Joe, in the letter, they ask that you take into consideration when they come through for development, the mix that was existing. You can't do that, can you? I mean, everything's blank when you start out.
The lands will still be covered by the Northeast Area Structure Plan, which will lay the groundwork for the multifamily nodes. Of course, we could look at amending that if that's something that they were looking at changing, but that's the framework that they would start off with anyhow.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. So we'll close the opportunity for questions from administration. And we will open for presentation submissions. And so I'd ask if there's any member of the public that would like to come forward to speak in support of the recommendation from administration. Is there anyone here to speak in support of the recommendation? And I'll call one final time. Is there anyone here to speak in support of the recommendation? Seeing none, then I would ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the recommendation from administration. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the recommendation from administration? And a final time, anyone here to speak in opposition to the recommendation? Seeing none, then I'll close the presentation submission portion, and I would have one last opportunity if there are any questions from council for administration before we close the public hearing. Any questions for administration? Councillor Rice?
Oh, sorry.
No?
No.
Okay, Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wondered, one, with the school, which we don't need it right now, why would it even be built near a transformer station? There's lots of studies and stuff down the road, and why would it even be close? So I can see why there's a big X by that. I mean, that should be in consideration ever down the road. So
Is that a question or a statement?
maybe both.
Okay. I'm going to take that, if it's okay with you, Councillor McLean, as a statement, and we'll move on to closing the public hearing, and we'll move to business arising from the public hearing. Councillor Rice?
I would move second reading of bylaw C 1100174 to amend the land use bylaw to change the zoning to UR.
Okay, thank you very much. So discussion or debate on second reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Rice, do you want to carry on?
Sure. I would move third reading of bylaw C 1100174 to amend the land use bylaw.
Okay, discussion or debate on third reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And one final piece of business, Councillor Rice?
I would move that council rescind the Woodgrove Estates outline plan.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. And that deals with all the business from our public hearings and all of our public hearings. We'll move through unfinished business, of which we have none, and reports, of which we have none, and into committee business, starting off with item 9.1, Council Committee of the Whole minutes from June 27th, 2011. Would somebody care to move those minutes for me? Councillor McLean?
I recommend council receive the minutes of the council committee of the whole meeting held June 27, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Did anyone notice any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. That'll bring us to 9.2 in the Community Development Committee from June 27th and July 5th. And I think, Councillor Crokin, you're the only committee member that was there that's here today. Would you care to move those sets of minutes?
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. I move council receive the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting held June 27 and July 5th, 2011.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Crokin, did anyone notice any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, that carries. Sure, Councillor Rice?
How can I be marked absent from a committee I'm not on?
Well, Councillor Rice, that's why I ask if there's any errors or omissions. You missed your chance.
Oh, okay.
I think we can, yeah, we'll make sure that we correct that. Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. There is a reason why I ask every time. Councillor Crokin, would you care to move on from the action items from that?
Yes,
meeting?
thanks, Mayor Gibbon. Council, I move council give bylaw C 1078B to amend the use of public lands bylaw, 3 readings.
So move first
No.
reading. I think we'll have to go through each of the readings one by one. So there's no debate on first reading. We have a motion for first reading, and I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Crokin?
The second and third reading?
We'll have to move second to have third, and then third.
Okay, I move second reading of bylaw 1078.
Okay, so motion for second reading of bylaw 1078B, and we'll open for discussion, debate, and questions, comments. Councillor Rice?
I think we heard some discussion this evening, or some suggestions this evening that we take a look at amending the map. I also have some concerns regarding the $250, as we heard in our discussion under delegation business, of primarily not-for-profit groups are using these signs, and I think that the increase is extremely steep. And I'm not making a motion, I'm just suggesting at this point that council give consideration to looking at it again in view of the suggested map revision that we received today.
Just to ensure that we're all on the same page, bylaw C-1078B doesn't cover the fees or the spacing or any of those specifics. 1078B is just the use of public lands, and I wonder if maybe administration can highlight some of the additions or changes to that bylaw so all of council is aware of exactly what we're talking about, because there are a number of policies, procedures, and bylaws all together in this one issue. Could you do that for us, Lois? Ms. Harper?
Yes, I'll do my best. Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. So the recommendation that was presented had to do with administrative amendments to bylaw C-1078. And it had to do with the need for updating and word streamlining to enable the flow of the document. For example, the public land definition has been updated to include stormwater management facilities. And there was some deletions to subsection 2I in its entirety and substitute public lands and what those mean, which would include public utility lots and stormwater management facilities, municipal reserves and school reserves, environmental reserves and natural areas, and any land subject to the city's direction, management, or control, included but not limited to land titled to the city, developed or undeveloped road right-of-ways and statutory road allowances, easements in favor of the city and all utility right-of-ways. There was a deletion of subsection 2K in its entirety and substituted with the following, which defined unauthorized use, meaning a person accessing on or over public lands or constructing, storing, erecting, or placing anything on or under or over public land for any purpose without the written consent of the city. There was a new addition to subsection 6A, which sees unauthorized uses on public land shall include but not be limited to the following, including constructing a driveway, parking pad or site, garage, stairway, walkway, pool, patio deck, wall, fence, shed, or other structure, constructing and or maintaining a skating or hockey rink, placing or storing of personal property, landscaping, gardening, or tree planting, installing irrigation or electrical systems, constructing drainage facilities, including but not limited to pipes, catch basins, sumps, swales, detention ponds, and ancillary structures, erecting, staging, scaffolding, or similar structures, depositing or storing building materials, topsoil, clay, sand, or gravel, storing or operating machinery, equipment, tools used or to be used in the connection with the erection and alteration, demolition, repair, or painting of any structure, digging, cutting, excavating, filling, or dumping soil, refuse, garden, or yard material, compost, and other materials, using the public land for the parking or temporary storage of any vehicle, whether operable or inoperable, including but not limited to cars, trucks, vans, recreational vehicles, all-terrain vehicles, snowmobiles, boats, campers, and trailers, operating any vehicle to access upon or across, and placement of unauthorized signage or commercial advertising.
Okay, thanks very much, Ms. Harper. So that's the details of the bylaw amendment that we're looking at with the second reading here. And so there are a number of policies and procedures that would come later on in our agenda. So that's what we're talking about with second reading here. So is there any further discussion or debate on second reading, now that we know the full details of the bylaw that we're looking at? Councillor Rice?
Well, just the policies and procedures may be a separate agenda item. This bylaw is what governs those policies and procedures. So passing of this very closely affects those.
Sorry, Councillor Rice. I don't believe that it does actually. Nowhere in this bylaw does it reference any charges or any spacing or any of those specific items that were mentioned by the delegation. Those are all contained in the policies and procedures. This really defines what public land is and what the city views as use of public land and whether we'd authorize it or not. So I would have to disagree with you on that point. Okay. Any further discussion or debate on second reading? Councilor McLean?
I understand what they're asking for here, but say if it's an area or a back alley the city hasn't kept up with, or a developer that might have not be here no more, and it's not being kept up with, so how does that work? Got to work for that as well, even though it needs work, different areas? Like we're talking about weed control, that could be in parks, but maybe it's not graded properly. There's different areas in the city that the city hasn't kept up on as well.
Okay, so
So I'm just wondering, we're saying don't do none of this, but then the city's going to be taking care of these back alleys and different things with weed control and everything up the park. That's what I'm
That's
asking.
my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
okay, any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote on second reading. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Croken, if we were going to do third reading tonight, we'd have to have a motion to have third reading.
I would like to make that motion, Mayor Gibbon, to have third reading of bylaw 1078B.
Thanks very much, Councillor Croken. So the motion is to have third reading here tonight. The motion needs to be unanimous to carry, and so I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Croken, you can do the final one now, third reading.
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. I move that council give bylaw 1078B third reading.
Thank you. Discussion or debate on third reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. So that'd take us to item 9.2.2. Councillor Croken?
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. I move council approve, number one, policy 605 as amended, and number two, approve procedures 605-1 as amended. Number three, approve procedure 605-2 as amended to allow the separation of distance between billboards be reduced from 150 meters to 90 meters. Number four, approve the boulevard use permit commercial sales event as amended. Number five, adopt the boulevard use permit public notification signs. And finally, number six, approve policy 605, procedures 601-1 and 605-2, and boulevard use permit be effective January 1st, 2012.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Croken. So big list of different items there, and I'd open it up for discussion, debate, questions or comments. Councillor Radbourne?
Thank you, Mayor Given. John, I'm using this one.
Okay.
My questions are for administration, if I might, to Mayor Given. I have two questions. One, there was reference at the committee meeting that there was also a development permitting charge or fee of $60. So I want to know if this is impacted, so would this mean 60 plus 250? That's one question. My second question is, when you determined the cost of mowing and maintenance to be $250, was that with the, I think you recommended 150 meter spacing initially? Was that with 150 meter spacing, or was it with the 30 meter spacing that we have now?
Okay, so two questions for administration, and I'll start off by directing them to Ms. Harper.
I'll do my best. I am joined by both Josie and Lindsay if I should
That's why I was looking at
get it
them.
wrong. I understand that there would be both fees, am I correct? The $60 and the $250. And in determining the fee and the spacing of the signage, it was based on 5 signs and a 1-hour time slot to mow it at a cost of $250.
Okay.
So if I just may
Councillor
follow up, is that,
Lindsay?
so let me ask again, was that with 150 meter spacing, or was that with about the 90 meters that we're talking about now?
Sure. Ms. Harper,
With your permission, I would ask Lindsay.
if you want to phone a friend, sure. If we'd like to have,
Get out a jail card.
sure. Mr. Juniper, if you'd like to come forward, maybe and join us at the front table, since you were involved in the details of the plan. And if you could maybe, you've heard the questions from Councillor Radbourne, and if you'd like to.
Secret mic. The time limit that we did was we asked our crew to go out, and the existing boulevard section between approximately 104th Street, which is a street that runs in front of the Peace Wapiti Academy,
Okay.
west towards Center 2000. At the time when they were out mowing, there was 5 signs on that spot. So they mowed around those 5 signs. Basically, gives that. Does that answer the question? The $60 is a license fee that is for all portable signs within the city of Grand Prairie. So if you were, for example, a business such as Magnet Signs, which have a business in Beaver Lodge, for them, in order for them to have signs in Grand Prairie, there is $60 annual license fee. So regardless of 1 sign or 100 signs, that fee is in place.
Okay, thanks very much. And maybe, Lindsay, if you want to stay there, because there could be some more detailed questions. Okay, Councillor Rice?
Okay, I guess I'm not understanding the $250 annual fee. Suppose I'm a sign person. I put my sign out there. I could leave it there for a whole year and hog up that space. Like, we don't have because you're limiting the number of locations, I guess it seems to me that it would have been much fairer to say that sign could only stay there for 3 months or something, and then somebody else gets to apply. Suppose it's there for 3 months, I take it away, then I come back again 3 months later. Now, is that another $250, or because my $250 is an annual fee, do I pay that, and that allows me to put a sign on any city property for, like, on one of the approved city locations for a year?
Mr. Juniper?
To answer that question, the sites will be site-specific. So with the process that we went through with the portable sign companies, there would be a designated number of sites within the city that are available. There would be, for example, 5 companies will have a certain percentage of each of the sites. So if there's 50 sites available, they could split them up and each get 10 sites. They would each be able to have that particular site number 1 or site number 15 for the entire year. That's their, in lack of a better word, their rent of that portion of the boulevard for an entire year. So whether they have Grand Prairie Minor Hockey advertising in the fall when they have their hockey program, and then the soccer program, and then baseball program, or however they want it, it doesn't dictate as to who actually can be on that spot. It's the sign company would be in control of their clients. That would be available to their clients for the year.
I'm not trying to debate, Lindsay, I'm just really confused. Well, then they're not portable signs. If Murray takes his signs and plants them there and they stay there all year, they're no longer portable signs, they're signs.
By definition, under the land use bylaw, portable signs are those that can be picked up and moved. So if Murray wished to take his sign back and clean it off in his shop and put some new lettering on it, and then put the new advertisement on, he could drive it over and park it on the site. The site is to rent that space. Whether there's a sign sitting there for the whole year or not, doesn't matter. That would be their ability to utilize that site for the year. Some of the companies said it might be easier for them to just bring their card and put the new one on. Others, I believe, would take the letters out and they could slide the letters in and out at the spot. So it's really dependent on, you know, how they operate.
So by passing these policies, what we're going to do is instead of signs coming and going, they will always be there. So we've actually increased the proliferation of the signs because...
So, Councillor Rice, my understanding of your question, is there anything in these policies that say that a sign must stay in place through the course of the year?
No.
Okay.
I guess my point is it would be in the sign company's best interest to leave it there for a year.
Okay, I see others in the queue. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mary Given. The question I had by talking to the different sign owners, the spacing now is 90 meters, and they want to go to 150 meters. Am I getting this wrong? They want to space them more, so there's a little less on different roads or streets than they are now. And how comfortable do they feel about this? Are they on page, the 4 or 5 main sign companies? That's what I'd like.
From my understanding, the original setback that was, I guess, proposed to them was a spacing of 200 meters. And that was based on a couple of factors. Right now, the land use bylaw, when they were dealing with the portable signs, the spacing was at 30 meters. And which meant within that space of the boulevard, if you had 90 meters, you would have potentially 3 signs. One of the things that we looked at was the at 70 kilometers an hour, which you're driving on the bypass, and with the sign being every 30 meters, it actually gave a 1.4 second time frame to read the sign before you got to the next sign. One of the comments that we heard was people saying, well, you know what, I knew that sign was there, but I could never get the last 3 numbers or the last date. I had to drive around the block 3 or 4 times before I actually got to read that. So we wanted to increase the spacing, so it gave, perhaps if you want a lack of a better word, a better opportunity for the marketing of whatever the event happened to be. So that they would actually be able to read that minor hockey registration is on such and such a date for these age levels or whatever. So that was one of the things. The other thing was the safety factor, and is that people's heads are turning every 1.4 seconds to read the sign. So we wanted to establish that space. So that was approximately 10, 11 seconds spacing between signs. The recommendation to go down to 150 meters was brought back to them, and then to committee. We're comfortable, I think, at 90 meters, and I think from what I understood from the meeting that the sign companies were in agreement with that.
So just one more question, Mayor Given. So 90 meters, they're in agreement, so that's what I'd like to know, and this has nothing to do with if it's election year for somebody. It's totally separate, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Monroe?
Thanks, Mayor Given. Lindsay, at the committee meeting, you'd indicated, or pardon me, you'd sent out surveys to businesses that may want to have input on this, and you'd indicated that nothing had come in as of the time of the meeting. Has there been anything since?
Nothing has come in
Still no
since, that's
comments there?
correct, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Rice, do I see you in the queue again?
Yeah, I'm a little confused as to some of the definition, commercial sales event. The products offered for sale with proceeds received during the event for the benefit of the permit holder.
Yeah.
But yet if I go to 5, then it starts to change to a not-for-profit. All the policies seem to be reflective of the people who use it are not-for-profit, but yet you have a definition in there of a commercial sales event.
Okay, one of the things when this matter first was presented to council and came back through to administration for direction, we had policy 605, which was for the commercial sales events, which were in essence the Wild Mile sale. So the policy 605 as it is written right now has basically not changed for definition number 1, which is the commercial sales event, which means any of the businesses along the bypass would have the right to come to parks, make an application for a commercial sales event to be hosted on the boulevard that could last up to 5 days, 4 times a year. So in essence, 20 days a year, a business could come forward and ask for a commercial sales event permit. So, for example, the hot tub company that's on North Fountain Tire could come forward and ask us to have a hot tub sales event on the boulevard. We would issue them a permit for 5 days. They would go away. A week later, Windsor Ford could come in and say, we want a Wild Mile sale. They would do their application. So that portion has never changed, Helen.
Oh, so it's just the not-for-profit that's
What
being
has
penalized.
changed?
I see.
What has changed is that we were also approached by Show and Shine. The Scouts wanted to have a hot dog sale, so that's the not-for-profit event that you see there, the second definition. The third definition is the portable advertising signs, which under that policy, we would administer those signs under that policy.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion or debate or questions for administration? So the motion is, thanks very much. Councillor Wong?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. Is there anything that requires the advertiser to remove the sign after the event is over? So we don't get stale signs?
No, other than the fact that they're probably paying for the cost of the sign sitting on the boulevard, so.
For
That-
a year.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or debate? Thanks very much, Lindsay. Appreciate you coming forward to answer some of the detailed questions for council. One last opportunity for discussion or debate on the motion as read by Councillor Crokin. Seeing none, then I'll call for the, Councillor Wong?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. I did have some comments. I do believe that although, you know, we can't come up with every possibility for what may happen out there. I think that having some regulation in this matter is really important. The 90-meter distance has now been, well, it's really a softening of the bylaw as opposed to the 150-meter distance. And I think we should go ahead with at least getting something in place, seeing how that works, and if in the future we find that we need to adjust the policy, then we adjust the policy.
Okay. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries with 1 opposed. Okay. Councillor Crokin, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight from that set of minutes from the CDC?
Heavens no, that was pretty heavy duty. Thanks, Mayor Given.
Full meeting. Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Wong, I think Public Works Committee was you?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Given. I move that council receive the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting held June 28th, 2011.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Did anyone note any errors or omissions? Any phantom attendance at that meeting? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Wong?
I move that council rescind the city council motion dated April 5th, 2010 to adopt in principle the final plan of the 101st Avenue Couplet project, and further direct administration to amend the downtown enhancement plan to reflect the abandonment of the Couplet project. If I could speak to that briefly, this was a recommendation from our planning department, who now feel that the Couplet project is probably not in the best interest of the city. There were a lot of businesses that would end up losing that traffic exposure that's running right through downtown. In addition, our future budget didn't really recognize a financing source for this. So it's always been difficult over the last couple of decades for administration to try to fit in an additional several $1 million into the budget to try to fund the Couplet project. And I think it is time for us to move on. We found now that traffic is moving pretty decently through our downtown. Downtown is getting revitalized, and I guess the last thing I should point out is there were some financial implications to this. There has been some investment made into it, but I don't feel that we should be throwing good money in with the bad. A lot of the investment that was already made we can use in the future in terms of what the new road alignment plans are going to be like. So I believe that we do need to rescind this plan and move on.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Radman?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I just add to what Dan said. I believe that the report indicated that that this would not be a solution with respect to the congestion and flow through the downtown. There are still bottlenecks or potential bottlenecks at the end of this couplet anyway. So really that was the main purpose, and I'm not sure if planning felt that that purpose would be well served by the couplet project.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radman. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. 9.3.2, Councillor Wong.
I move that council award tender T-25-552-11 construction services contract for the 92nd Street and 104th Avenue and 96th Street and 116th Avenue traffic signals project in the amount of $287,708.59, excluding GST, to RGM Contracting, Inc. as the lowest bid meeting specifications. This is an extremely good news story. This comes in at roughly half of what we had budgeted. There's several factors that play into why it is quite a bit lower than what was budgeted, but we get 2 traffic signal lights at the price of 1.
Good deal. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Excuse me, I'll cancel that vote. And Councillor Croker?
Thanks, Mayor Given. The light was on, but through you to Councillor Wong. Did they give you a time when they're going to start this? Because I know we had the engineering and then the costing. Like, I have had citizens are wondering and asking.
I defer that to the Public Works Director if
Sure.
possible.
Mr. Scavage,
Thank
do
you.
you have an update for us on timelines for this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As soon as it's approved, the engineer will be starting as well as the contractors, so the intent is to get it completed in this construction season.
Okay, thank you very much. There's your answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so again, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. Councillor Wong?
I move that council award tender T-27-552-11, the 2011 Road Rehabilitation Program Phase 2 project, in the amount of $1,866,988.58, excluding GST, to Wapiti Gravel Suppliers, Division of NPA Limited, as the lowest bid meeting specifications. This is the second phase of our road rehab program. The first phase came in extremely under budget by approximately that much, so we figured we'd get more work done this year while the prices are good.
Okay, thank you. Discussion or debate on the motion? Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mayor Given. That was exactly what I was going to ask Councilor Wong. It was about, we had a lot of savings, and now we're going to get more road work done. And I also had a question about we take that savings and use it on taxes, but there's grants here with the government where we can lose money. So maybe Frank, Public Works Director, could announce, like, because if not going forward, we would have lost money and not got more roads finished, basically.
Mr. Scavich, maybe you want to talk to the funding source for this?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Basically, the grants, some of them are conditional, which means they're relegated to be used for only transportation projects. So they have to go to a roadway project location to be approved by council.
Okay, okay, thanks very much. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And Councillor Wong?
Yes, I'll move that council approve a funding request from the Disabled Transportation Society in the amount of $65,000 allocated from the transit operation budget to cover a 2011 deficit. In speaking to that, the DTS Society came to us requesting a top-up in their funding by $65,000 to cover a deficit that had accumulated over a 3-year period. Their ridership has increased significantly over the last 3 years, and as they provide more service, their expenses go up. They found ways to now lean out their expenses, which is encouraging, but I believe that this is a valuable service that's provided by this society. It is a municipal transportation service, and our transit is willing to cover that off based on savings from their own budget.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Wong, I see Councillor Rice in the queue.
So I guess I just need some reassurance that the transit isn't going to have to reduce services in some of their areas in order to come up with this money.
Maybe that's appropriate for Mr. Scavich.
Thank you, Mayor Given. No, transit will not be reducing any service levels as a result of this transfer. We do have sufficient money in the transit budget to cover it.
Thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Monroe?
Thanks, Mayor Given. I'd like to know, I guess, is this a one-time ask, or is this something that we're going to be faced with on an annual basis as far as helping out this society? Or if anyone can answer that.
Sure. Anyone care to address that? Mr. Scavich?
Thank you, Mayor Given. To my knowledge, this is a one-time initiative to play catch-up for the previous 3 years, and we're going through a new budgeting process, which should address that.
Okay. Just to speak to that, yeah, any further requests for future years will come to the budget discussions. Councillor Wong also mentioned some of the steps the association the society had taken, which included increased user fees and membership fees. And there was also, Council should know, there was also a further request or direction to administration to look at a question of funding a position, an executive director position. So that's something that will be working its way through its standard process with budget and committee. So that would be the only other thing I think that we would hear about DTS other than their regular budget that we'll see this fall through your budget process. Councillor Rice?
We had discussed a couple of years ago about them moving into the service center and us doing the dispatch and even the administration. Are we doing that now, or?
Mr. Scavich?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Yes, DTS does have office space at the service center on the first floor, and they handle all their dispatch out of there, and they avail themselves of our services as far as we can provide them for administration.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor O'Toole?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Given. I know I was at the meeting, and part of their agenda was to, in streamlining, was to schedule routes for these people and also possibly use the public transit already. Mm-hmm. We do have wheelchair access buses on fleet right now, so that would reduce some of the ridership on the multi-use smaller buses. So they are doing a management review and trying to do the best they can to save money So that's the program.
Okay, thanks very much. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call to the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Wong, was there anything else in that set of minutes?
I
you
have
wanted to
nothing
highlight?
further, but we'll try to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Councillor Wong on that set of Public Works Committee meeting minutes? Seeing none, then we'd move on to General Government Services Committee, and Councillor Radburn, I think you were going to handle that set of minutes for us, weren't you?
Thank you, Mayor Given.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move council receive the minutes of the General Government Services Committee meeting held June 29th, 2011.
Thank you. Did anyone note any errors or omissions from that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Let's seek Audrey's help here. Should I deal with the last part of this motion, the approval of the Lions Learning Center letter of intent and amending agreement, or do we do first reading of the whole package, including that agreement?
You would need to do the bylaw first.
Bylaw first, okay. So I would move first reading of bylaw C1259 to designate a parcel of land as municipal reserve located at lot 72, block 11, plan 002-2748, Lions Learning Center.
Okay, thanks very much. So a motion for first reading. There's no debate on first reading. We'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Radburn?
So I would move second reading, and I won't read the rest of it. If I can read, if I just move second reading. Just a bit of a context here for this. This is the land that the Lions Learning Center is on. Initially, the City of Grand Prairie entered into an agreement in 2003 to transfer the land to the public school district, and they in turn transferred to the Grand Prairie Lions Club. The Lions Club was to transfer the land back to the district once the financing obligations had been met. Concurrent with the transfer of land back to the district, the land was to be designated MR pursuant to the provisions of the MGA. So that was the plan. The financing obligations are complete, but there was a discussion and agreement upon the city and the school district that the land would be returned to the city instead of the school district, concurrent with the redesignation of land to municipal reserve.
Okay, discussion or debate on second reading? And seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you. I move that we have third reading.
Okay, a motion to have third reading. Again, this motion must be unanimous to pass to have third reading here tonight, otherwise it would come back to a future, our next council meeting. Any discussion or debate on the motion to have third reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries unanimously, so we can have third reading. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you. I move third reading of bylaw C1259.
Thank you. And so a motion for third reading. Any discussion or debate on third reading of bylaw C1259? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. And Councillor Radburn, there's that second part of the business there.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Given. I move that council approve the Lions Learning Center letter of intent and amending agreement.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. And that letter of intent spells out maybe our
The Audrey can tell us.
Deputy
I must-
Intergovernmental Services Director. Ms. Cherney?
Thank you, Mayor Given. The letter of intent is between the City of Grand Prairie and the Grand Prairie Public School District, confirming the discussion and the tentative agreement between the two parties, dealing with the outcome of the agreement from 2003 on the subject lands, in that the land will not be transferred back to the public school district, but to the City of Grand Prairie. Once it's transferred, then the city will designate the land as municipal reserve, which is part of the process that's occurred here this evening, and that the city will allow the district to use the property indefinitely for current use or other appropriate school board uses. And the city and the Grand Prairie Public School District also agree that the property is subject to the SCORS agreement, and that the city and the district will sign the attached amending agreement with the Lions Club, which is a three-part agreement to indemnify and save harmless the Lions Club.
Okay, thanks very much, Audrey. Okay, any discussion or debate on approving the Lions Learning Center letter of intent and amending agreement? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne, was there anything that you wanted to note from that set of minutes? Or
Just one other thing, Mayor Given, if I might. The issue of we've asked administration to take a look at policy 310, purchasing policy, to look to include a provision for establishing an acceptable range for cost evaluation criteria. That is not part of the policy presently. The committee thought that was something that we should include in the policy, and so they're going to bring that back to committee.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radbourne. Any questions for Councillor Radbourne on that set of minutes from GGS? Seeing none, then we'll move on to protective services, which was also Councillor Radbourne, I believe.
All right, thank you, Mayor Given. I move council receive the minutes of the Protective Services Committee meeting held July 5th, 2011.
Thank you. Anyone note any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne?
Thank you. I would move council give bylaw C1103C to amend the noise nuisance and public disturbance bylaw first reading.
Thank you. So we have a motion for first reading. There's no debate. We'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne?
Thank you. I would move second reading to bylaw C1103C. And in speaking to the motion, this motion is an amendment that prohibits the feeding of wild animals within city limits. This was something that we had from a motion at council, was referred to committee, so admin has done the work. We tweaked it just with a minor, got rid of heights on bird feeders. As long as the bird feeders were inaccessible, we're okay with them. And so it is now brought back to council.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Rice?
I had a call from a citizen concerned after this had been to the committee, who has their bird feeder hung outside their kitchen window so they can watch the birds feeding. Wondered if that was high enough to not be in violation of the bylaw. It wasn't very specific. How would you?
Sure.
Sounds to me
Councillor
like
Radbourne?
it's inaccessible.
Okay.
At the committee, the bylaw did have a specific height definition, and through discussion at the committee level, that specific height was removed. And
Okay.
basically to say if land-bound wild game can't reach it, then it's inaccessible.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion or debate on second reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Radbourne?
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move we have third reading of bylaw C1103C.
Thank you. So motion to have third reading. Any discussion or debate on having third reading here tonight? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. We can have third reading. Councillor Radbourne?
Then I would move that council give third reading to bylaw C1103C.
Thank you very much, Councillor Radbourne. Any further discussion or debate on third reading? The last opportunity. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. Councillor Radbourne, was there any? Oh, there are a couple.
Oh,
of
yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm ahead of myself.
It's beginning here. So, thank you, Mayor Given. I move council amend the capital plan to approve the purchase and installation of traffic warning lights for the North Fire Hall at a cost of $32,000, with funding allocated from the Fire Department Equipment Replacement Reserve. In speaking to that motion, Mayor Given, construction of the West Fire Hall has provided an opportunity to share professional and contracting services, thus reducing the cost for the North Fire Hall traffic warning lights. I guess about a $25,000 touch was included in the West Fire Hall as a change order to help with that expertise. And then we've taken advantage of some bulk purchasing, doing both the West and North Fire Halls, so that the cost now is only $32,000. And that $32,000 will come from the Fire Department Equipment Replacement Reserve. That reserve was at about 660,000, and so this and the next item would draw from that. Committee felt that as an appropriate use of the reserve, and it really is a matter of safety. Traffic on 102nd Street has increased dramatically since the North Fire Hall was built. And secondly, housing construction has blocked visibility of the hall from vehicles approaching from the north. So that's becoming more and more problematic. So for safety's sake, public safety's sake, then I think that I would hope that council would support this motion so that we can put those warning lights on the North Fire Hall. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Redburn. So I see a couple in the queue. Councillor Monroe.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Was this item already part of our budget plan for this year, or this was just, this is strictly an addition?
Councillor Redburn.
As I understand it, it's an addition.
Okay.
Hence the use of the reserve.
Very well, thanks.
Okay. Councillor Rice.
I guess if somebody could maybe explain, like, these lights, I support the lights, by the way, but I understand there might be a problem. Again, I had a call from someone that said the fire hall moved out onto the fire truck moved out onto 116th Avenue, heading east, and got to 116th Avenue and 100th Street, and was caught up in all traffic there, where all the lanes were jammed, nobody was moving. So now, these are the lights, I think, that when it changes the traffic lights, does it not?
Maybe we can.
No, or that's just the one that says fire engines coming out of the station?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's correct, Councillor Rice. This is just at the station to warn north-south traffic that a fire engine will be exiting the station.
Like
driveway.
the one at the South Fire Hall.
Okay, now my next question is, when do we look at things like, okay, that's a trouble spot on 116th Avenue and 100th Street, we need to have the capacity to change lights and move people, like, people have been trained to stop when they hear a fire engine, so they do. You're dealing with this every day, aren't you?
Deputy Chief Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councillor Rice, traffic is an ongoing thing. Really, the purpose of this recommendation is to get some early warning lights out, and they're really for the public and not so much for the firefighters and the apparatus. Similar to how the traffic warning lights are at South Fire Hall. These would be similar to that, but just on vertical posts without the overhead crossbars, because it's not a divided roadway. So it would not be as large and amazing as the ones on Resources Road, but very much to give the motoring public that early warning that apparatus is going to be leaving the station.
Thank you.
Okay. I see Councillor McLean in the queue.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I go on the same side as Councillor Radburn on this, and the reason why is back in November 10th, 2010, council should give itself a pat on the back. This price came in well over what it's coming in now. We're saving over $200,000. It's like 20% of a 1% tax increase. And no matter if you take it out of a reserve, it's still taxpayers' money that went into that reserve. And so council deserves a big pat in the back of this, because it's over $200,000 they're saving for a light. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Any further discussion or debate on? Sorry, there's only one reading of this. Wow,
that's right.
Thanks very much. So on the motion to approve the installation of those traffic lights, any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote.
I can't vote.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I'll raise my arm. Please put it down.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad. Oops.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. Start vote. Coming up for anybody?
No, I can't vote.
All in favor?
That's raised.
Okay, then until somebody sorts that out, we will go the old-fashioned way. We'll go by a show of hands. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried unanimously. And we'll move on to item 9.5.3.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I move council amend the capital plan to approve the purchase of a Zymek ROC decontamination system in the amount of $77,774 excluding GST, with 50%, $38,887 of the funding allocated from a JEPP grant, and the remaining 50%, $38,887 of the funding allocated from the Fire Department Equipment Replacement Reserve. In speaking to this motion, Mayor Given, I guess this is all about a vehicle/room decontamination machine, manual sanitization methods, which we use presently. Really, there are inaccessible areas. This will do a better job and will do it quicker. They're citing a 15 minutes, so the downtime of equipment will be reduced. Again, there's that flexibility in the equipment reserve. And I'm just so impressed that we received half of the money from a grant. So I think that was a good initiative from the department in terms of accessing that funding to limit, I guess, the draw on the reserve. The other thing that I was impressed with respect to the report is they will be developing a fee schedule to provide decontamination service to external agencies such as public and private EMS providers, commercial vehicle operators, and other municipalities. So I think there could be other use, and this is a service that we can provide, or equipment we can provide to others and receive some revenue. I think Mayor Rice went to a conference a year or two ago. Oh, boy.
Just had a reset on our system. Is your microphone on? Yep.
I think so.
Sure.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, so I think we heard about it over a year or so ago, and I think the department's done some good work to bring us today to this point, and so I'm pleased to support the recommendation.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Redburn. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Rice?
We can also use this at the-
Sorry, Councillor Rice, have you tried to ring into the queue?
I did.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not.
Okay. See if you can turn your microphone on directly? No? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Rice.
I believe we can also use this for transit, could we not, Deputy Chief Moore?
Deputy Chief?
It could be used in transit buses, it could be used in ambulances.
Deputy Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You are absolutely correct.
EMS.
Transit buses, they can be used extensively. The company's website actually has a whole section on public service use, along with some videos of the machine in use. So basically, it's got doors and windows, and you can hold the mist inside. It will be contaminated. So.
Okay. Any further discussion or debate? I can't see in the queue, so I'll have to see by hands. Councillor McLean and then Councillor Monroe.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Back November 10th, the fire department wanted 3 units for $170,000 with no funding. So now they want 1 unit for $70,000 with funding for $37,000, half of it. But even speaking to this, there's no one in Alberta that's got these units yet. And as far as I'm concerned right now, we'll be voting against it.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor McLean, Councillor Monroe.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Just maybe some clarification. You'd indicated that there might be a fee schedule for outsource, or for, I guess, sourcing this equipment out to other providers. Do you anticipate it being set up in such a way that there will be, the equipment should pay for itself?
Deputy Chief?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, I believe over time,
because it's been needing repairs time and time again, and it's been costing a not-for-profit club an exorbitant amount of money, and I don't think it's a fair way to run a city operation.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Wong. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, then we're going to try our technology, and I'll call for the vote using our electronic pads. Appears to be working. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And that motion carries. Thank you very much to our technical staff for sorting that out for us. And again, apologies to anybody out there watching who saw our lips moving but no sound coming out. We'll move on to items of correspondence, of which I believe there were none. Delegation business. We had two delegations. One was dealt with in the discussion of the portable sign bylaws. We had a second delegation. Mr. Lapointe, does council have any direction on that? Okay. Councillor Radburn, I see you came first in the queue.
I'd move that we receive the delegation's report or information.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. So motion to receive the update and the DVDs that were dropped off by Mr. Lapointe for information. I'll call any discussion or debate on the motion. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. That'll bring us to notices of motion, of which we had none, and council member reports. Councillor Wong, you had an update from the Multiplex Regional Resource Committee. There you are.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Given. The Resource Committee met on Thursday, July 7th. Just a brief update in terms of where we're at. All the RFPs are out for the lease spaces and the food kiosks at the multiplex. We expect that all submissions will be in by the end of the month. We actually have a closing date for one of them at the end of the week and another one at the end of the month. And the evaluation team is going to look through those proposals and make their decisions. We had a really good turnout at the mandatory site meeting, so we're really optimistic that we're going to have all our lease spaces filled. We're also making some great progress for sponsorships for the facility. We'll try to get a summary out to council before the end of summer. We have a lot of irons in the fire, and they're really starting to come to fruition now, so that's really good news. For the Big Picture fundraiser, we're spending our time this summer focusing on sports groups and community clubs that are in operation for the summer, and we're going to try to get them to get involved in our program. But I guess in summary, things are really busy for this for the multiplex, and we're trying to get everything ready before it opens in hopefully December this year. I know that there's a lot of angst out there from the public. Everyone's wanting to get into this facility, and we're trying to get everything in place for that opening.
Sure. Thanks very much for the update, Councillor Wong. Any questions for Councillor Wong? Councillor McLean, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Councillor Wong, question I have, and a lot of public have been coming towards me on this, is that they'd like to have a view of it, and there was supposed to be some public viewing to bring more interest in the community and within the county to check this new facility out. And we haven't had one yet. So are they going to happen? Is there a plan coming on that going to happen for the public, one every 2 weeks for end of summer and bring more interest?
Okay, so
it was said it would be done and it hasn't.
Councillor Wong, do you have any information on other public opportunities to get into the construction site?
Well, I know that Cheryl has been booking tours of the facility for special interest groups that may have some kind of specific interest in the facility, whether it be sponsorship or lease spaces or whatever. But in terms of public, additional opportunities for the public, I'm not aware, but I know that we were talking about it. Maybe the city manager could help me out with that.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had one public, as Councillor Wong stated, we've had a number of interest groups go through with tours. We've had one public viewing. It was a number of months ago when council had a hamburger hot dog day. I know several of you were there to give out hamburgers and hot dogs to the public, and they were taking groups through in the size of about 15 people, and it was actually quite a jammed up event. A lot of people went through that day. We have talked about doing it again, another event closer to the opening where we bring the public through. So stay tuned for that, and I'm sure Cheryl will be sharing that with us.
Okay. So there are plans to have another public event to allow people to come in and see, the general public to come in and see. Councillor McLean, do you have anything further?
Yeah. Just for the opening, I was hoping that maybe by the end of summer, before school starts, there could be possibly a day where when you had the opening before, it was concrete. And now you got a lot of stuff happening there with design and pictures of dinosaurs that families can get excited about before just the opening and for selling season passes. So I'm just hoping that maybe one can be moved up forward a little quicker.
Okay, thanks very much. And I'd just also note too, Councilor McLean, that of the special interest groups that have made it through, it's been as diverse as the board of Grand Prairie Regional College. We've made the offer to the County of Grand Prairie Council. We've taken the Association of Professional Engineers when they had their conference here, took them through, which included a number of people who were particularly interested in the squash courts, which I'll take this opportunity to mention that when the squash users went in, they measured the courts specifically, and it is to dispel any rumors, the courts are the right size for squash, because that had been out there and I certainly want to squash that rumor. I couldn't think of any other word, sorry. But so there have been a number of user groups through there, and I think the anticipation certainly is building in the community, but I think any opportunity to get more people in is obviously going to be welcome. So, Councillor O'Toole, I believe you had an update for the Philip J. Curry Dinosaur Museum.
Yes, I do. We do have our gala ball on the 23rd this month coming up, and I do have a short list of confirmed celebrities. Start off with Dan Aykroyd and his wife Donna Dixon Aykroyd. The Honorable Lindsay Blackett, Minister MLA of Calgary, will be here. We've got the Aykroyd family, the children will be here. Lorne Michaels, celebrity actor, Alice Berry, Matthew Gray Gubler, if you happen to know Criminal Minds, the young fellow there, he will be here. In fact, he told them that he was getting on the plane whether he was invited or not. Jeff Klein, celebrity, John Goodwin, celebrity. There are a couple of Hollywood producers. I'll just won't name everybody here off. Of course, Philip J. Curry will be here as well. Dr. Eva Kopolis, she's with the University of Alberta. Robert Rothenmund, he's also a very anticipated celebrity. Laurie Carneth, she's a #1 best-selling crime writer at this time. Laurie Carneth? My wife knows her. How come you don't, Alan? The people that own the Roots Canada, be Michael Budman and Diane Baud. We're going to have some leadership candidates. Maybe the former premier or the future premier will be here. Doug Horner, his wife, Gary Marr, Wayne Drysdale and his wife, and Allison Redford. There are a number of other people that are anticipating coming, but we just haven't got them confirmed. And just on a side note, there was some excavation done here recently, and there's going to be an announcement on the find of a dinosaur. And I can't go into too much detail because it's going to be a media event. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
So that was a teaser.
That's a teaser.
pretty
Yeah,
good. Okay.
it'll be a world-class announcement, by the way.
By the way. No,
By the way.
No big deal.
Yeah.
It's a world-class announcement.
Nobody
Okay.
would expect nothing less.
Well, I can't tell you.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. If there weren't any further external agency reports, then we'd move on to Council Roundtable. And Councillor O'Toole, let's start with you right there.
Okay, thank you very much. On June 30th, I went with a bunch of my colleagues here. We had the city and county joint meeting. We have a couple times a year, 3 times a year. It was well attended, good information passed on by both city and the county. On the July 1st, on June 30th, I also went to the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society presentation on the Beaver Hills Initiative. And that's something like this is taking place in the Grand Prairie area. And it was just kind of an update. Their mandate was a little different than the one we've got going on here, but it was a good background on information. On July 1st, reaffirmation of the Canadian citizenship at Centre 2000. Actually, that was also June 30th. And then spent up many hours at Muskosipi Park watching the entertainment and finished it off with fireworks. On July 1st, it was Councillor Helen Rice and myself were the judges at the parade. It was a very difficult job, and we're looking for more help next year. On July 6th, I went down to the Wapiti River and attended the Outlaw Eagle riverboat races. The water was quite a bit lower that day. And the next day on the 7th, the water had come up a little tiny bit, but I watched day 2 of the jet boat races. On the evening of the 6th of July, I helped dish out some supper at the Friendship Center to their clients. I think we fed about 60 or so people. And on the 8th, I attended an event that I'm pretty proud on attending. Was the 15-year anniversary of City Manager Greg Sherbuck with the City of Grand Prairie.
Great, thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you, Mayor Given. June 28th, I represented the council at the Rural Medical Doctor Residence Program. Chamber sponsored a barbecue at Dr. Brenda Miller's place, and I was able to attend and speak with residents. It's just an excellent program, and I think it's where you train them, they end up staying often. So this program really supports that. They have 6 first years, 6 second year rotating through, and so I think over 40 have gone through the program to date. June 29th, Leisure Center Feasibility Study Open House. It was a good turnout when I was there. I was able to talk to Roger Field, and those who were filling out the forms took the opportunity to bend my ear, which was good as well. June 30th, as Councillor O'Toole has said, a city-county info session, the Wapiti Corridor hosted presentation, read the Beaver Hills Initiative, and the reaffirmation of Canadian citizenship ceremonies. July 1st, speaking of looking for more help, those of us who, 4 of us who walked the parade, we could say the same thing. And Canada Day ceremonies at Muskosipi Park. July 2nd, I attended the 100th anniversary of the McDonald's Family Farm. It was a great celebration. July 5th, an Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting. At the meeting, we basically took a look at the Economic Development Plan and provided some input to Brian to revise it for the next 3-year budget. July 6th, helped the Grand Prairie firefighters and Alberta Health staff serve supper at the Friendship Center. And July 8th, I attended Greg's 15-year service award celebration as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Councillor Crokin?
Thanks, Mayor Given. I also, on June 30th, attended the joint meeting at the Stone Bridge with the county. A lot of interesting things were exchanged. Mutual aid is one of the ones that I really want fleshed out. On July the 1st, I attended the pancake breakfast at the Golden Age Center. And on July the 1st, I also was one of the Magnificent Four that walked in the parade. And I wanted to thank, at this time, Jody made a magnificent job of getting the candy. The kids were just actually taking them out of my bucket. Not that I wasn't throwing them, Councillor Rice, I want you to know. And
How lazy is that?
and also want to thank the volunteers for making our float. It was fantastic. It just about ran over me about 3 times, but it was a really nice float. I was quite happy with that. And the cake down in the Muskosipi Park after the parade was excellent. And later that day, I attended Bud Country. So that day, I went from being the youngest at an event to being the oldest at an event. And that was my report.
Okay,
Mayor.
thanks very much, Councillor Crokin. Councillor Monroe?
Thanks, Mayor Given. June 29th, I went down to the Leisure Center to take part in the feasibility study. It should be noted that at the time I was there, it was probably about 2:30 in the afternoon, and they'd indicated that they had over 600 people had responded to that feasibility study, most of them being online, but they'd had quite a bit of traffic down there. So that's great to know that there's definitely some interest in looking at the future for our leisure center. June 30th, I was part of the Center for Research and Innovation steering team meeting. I also attended the City Council joint meeting that most of the other councillors attended. Also on the 30th, I was part of the tender opening for the curling rink ice plant. July 5th, I attended on behalf of Mayor Given a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and MLA Wayne Drysdale and Member of Parliament Chris Workington to discuss the foreign worker issues in the Grande Prairie area. There was a number of industry stakeholders present as well too, and discuss the problems being faced by those that are applying for foreign workers. Interesting to note that one of the big issues is that Grande Prairie has a relatively high unemployment rate when it comes to the rest of Alberta, and that makes it difficult for a lot of the service industry to have successful foreign worker applications go through. July 7th, Regional Resource Committee, Councillor Wong already reported on that. July 8th, of course, here for Greg's 15-year anniversary celebration. Once again, congratulations, Greg. And then today, I also had a meeting with Greg. He was reviewing my performance. Anyways, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
I would imagine that took a long time.
Thanks very much, Councillor Munro. Councillor Rice.
I attended the meeting with the county, excellent meeting with the rest of council. As Councillor O'Toole mentioned, we were the judges for the parade. 106 entries, and we had 1 hour to judge them, grade them, separate them, and present the ribbons. So I'm suspecting Councillor O'Toole has never been screamed at so often in his life. He tended to want to visit a bit. And we were out of time. I attended with Alderman Radburn at the 100th anniversary of the McDonald Farms. Of course, the family of Reeve McDonald, extremely community representative event, the people that were there. I also really have to just express my admiration for the Grande Prairie Fighter Fighters Charitable Foundation and their partnership with Alberta Health Services to provide meals at the Friendship Centre on the first Wednesday of every month. They have provided 4 meals so far. And I would encourage anybody who can spare the time next time to, it's only a couple hours, and it was, I was really impressed with how many people stopped on their way out to say thank you for that. And I would encourage you to get on a shift with Councillor O'Toole, not that the mayor and Councillor Radburn didn't work, but Councillor O'Toole tends to trot right along doing all the work, so you're just in the position of standing there going, okay, what do you want me to do? So it really is a very gratifying experience. And I, of course, attended Mr. Sherback's 15-year anniversary, having been on the original hiring committee.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rice. Councillor Wong?
Thank you, Mayor Given. On June 29th, I attended the feasibility study for the Leisure Centre. This feasibility study did give the public an opportunity to voice their opinion on the future of the Leisure Centre. So I exercised my right as a member of the public and filled out one of those surveys as well. On June 30th, I attended the joint city-county meeting. Also attended the Beaver Hills Initiative presentation, which was hosted by the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society. I just wanted to point out the multi-use plan that they had developed is very similar to what the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society is working on. The Beaver Hills area is a large area that's just east of Edmonton, and it spans 5 different municipalities. The plan is more scientific in nature. It focused on conserving the ecological integrity of the area. Our Wapiti Corridor Planning Society is working on a multi-use plan, but it's focused more on stakeholder engagement and conflict resolution across several stakeholder groups. We did find that there is going to be an opportunity to add some scientific data to the plan as time goes on and as we get into more of the management phase of that plan. But we wanted to get something in front of the ministers on time, so we didn't want to stray too much from our original focus. On June 30th, I also attended the reaffirmation of Canadian citizenship ceremony at Centre 2000, hosted by the Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association. On the weekend of July 1st, I wasn't able to attend the parade because I did have to go out to Calgary and celebrate my grandma's 90th birthday party. I thought my grandma deserved a little bit of a shout out for turning 90. She's still looking like she's in great shape, and we're glad to have her. On July 6th, I brought greetings on behalf of City Council and the Mayor to the Alberta Road Builders and Heavy Construction Association banquet. This was their, this is a conference that they put on, or an event that they put on throughout Alberta at several locations. I did mention that I worked for Alberta Transportation back in 1991, and the only days that I got off for any kind of fun were the rainy days, and we've been having a lot of rain lately. Fortunately for them, they had their golf tournament the day after, and it was the only nice day of the week. So, you know, congratulations to them for these road workers that normally only get the rainy days off. They got to experience one of the really nice sunny days that Grand Prairie had to offer. Finally, on July 8th, I was here at City Hall to celebrate Greg Sherbach's 15 years of service, and just wanted to congratulate Greg on that and hope to see him here for many more years of service.
Another 15, hey? All right, okay. Well, not another, okay. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. On June 30th, I also attended my first county-city joint meeting, and I found it to be a very good meeting. They're building a new multiplex on Range Road 65. And I do believe city residents will probably be in the majority of using that facility. Besides that, they're going to do 2 rugby fields, which my former team, Centre's rugby team, would be very interested in going to. It would be a new field. And as well, they have soccer pitches they're going to be building, maybe some baseball diamonds. And I think this is very good news for our region. And I wish the county complete success. And as well, at that meeting, there was some talk on some of the beef issues around this area. And I hope that that comes to the forefront sooner than later. Also on that day, I attended the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society. I don't know very much about this, like a lot of residents in Grand Prairie. And they were discussing the Beaver Hill Initiative, which I did camp in last May long weekend in that area. And it was wet, and there was snowing, but it was warm beforehand. There was a fire ban, and it wasn't the best experience, but it is a very beautiful area. There's all kinds of birds there, and it's very beautiful. As well, I attended that day a Chamber of Commerce mixer at Northern Visions, and that went over quite well. July 1st, the Canada Day Parade was very beautiful, and I got to participate in the parade. And I couldn't believe the amount of people. And it was a little windy, but it was a beautiful day. And we probably had 15, 20,000 people. There was unbelievable how many people. And my hat's off to David and Jody Clausen. We did not run out of candy. We would have, but we had 4 helpers doing the candy. And the trailer was going fast. Like it was. But anyways, I think the children came home with a lot, so did mine. As well that day, I beat out John and his mom, Jen. God bless her. I think she's 96 or 97. Yeah. Beautiful lady. I was at the Golden Age Center for Pancake Breakfast, and I had my wife and my 2 children, Kendra and Kara. And that was a beautiful day, and down in the park. As well, I came for the long service recognition of 15 years. And I hope the city manager, Greg, on the 8th is around for at least another 5, so his hair could be completely white when he's done. And I had, as well as Justin today, I had a meeting one-on-one with Greg, and I passed with flying colors.
Thanks very much, Councilor McLean. So I'll be very, very brief. On Thursday the 30th, I also attended the joint city-county council meetings. Later that evening, I was at Center 2000 for the reaffirmation of citizenship, hosted by the Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association, and appreciated them doing that, and MP Chris Workington for being there to lead those in attendance. And on Friday the 1st, of course, I was at the Canada Day Parade, as mentioned and chronicled by the other council members that were there. But I also wanted to note that I stayed behind to recognize TELUS as they came on board as a sponsor of the multiplex with their $250,000 contribution to the facility, and it was my pleasure to accept the big check and the small check on behalf of the City of Grand Prairie, and thank TELUS, a good community partner, for supporting the multiplex. On Wednesday the 6th, I was also at the Friendship Center to help out with the Friends Feeding Friends, and I just really want to say thank you to the staff from Alberta Health Services and our Firefighters Association who volunteered to do that. My understanding is that they alternate in buying the food. So it's actually the staff at Alberta Health Services 1 week will do a 50-50 fundraiser, and they use the funds generated from that to buy the food to serve at the Friendship Center, and then the firefighters do the same. So really appreciate those two groups taking it on themselves, not just to provide the labor, but to actually provide the food. So we appreciate that, and it was a pleasure to be invited to take part. And then, of course, Friday the 8th, I was also here to present City Manager Greg with his long service recognition for 15 years. You'll notice that he has a bright, shiny gold pin. After 15 years, he got that pin in a shirt that says, after 15 years, all I got was this pin. No. In all seriousness, it was great to be able to do that. Certainly, fantastic opportunity to recognize somebody who has a long history at the City of Grand Prairie through many different service areas, and really embodies, I think, the guiding beliefs and spirit of our organization. So, Greg, congratulations. And with that, we'll adjourn our City Council meeting. Thanks very much.